When I was 12, I started at the secondary school in the town a few miles away. During term time, I stayed with my uncle, returning to the village only during the vacations. Veronica and I remained friendly, and she was always pleased to see me. And when we could, we snatched time together by the stream, and she asked me endless questions about my school and the town and what I was going to be when I grew up. But for all the misery of her own life, she never seemed to envy me mine. Okeke and Veronica grew up in a Nigerian village, basically, and one guy goes away to be educated, Okeke in the narrator, and he talks about how his life begins to be very different from that of his childhood friend Veronica, who stays in the poor village where they both lived as children. You can read the complete story on pages 65 to 68, but here's an extract. And then came the day when I was to leave for good. I had won a scholarship to the university, and I knew in my heart I would be away for a long time. I was 18 then, I knew my own worth. The day before I left, we met by the stream. As she walked towards me, I realised for the first time that she was no longer a girl anymore, but a young woman. Her clothes were still shabby, and if she was no great beauty, she still had a certain attractiveness that I knew would appeal to some men. Not that she was like to meet any men as long as she remained where she was. And although her father had long since stopped beating her, in every respect nothing had really altered. "You must be happy to be going," she said. I shrugged and pretended to be unconcerned, but of course it was the break I'd hardly dared hope for. "What about you?" I asked. "Me? Yes, why don't you get out of this place? It has nothing to offer you. I can't just leave my family." "Why not? What have they ever done for you?" "Don't talk like that. They are my family, and that is enough." "But think of all the things that you can do in the city," I said. "No, the city is for you, not me. What will I do once I get there? I have no qualifications, not even standard 6. Although I knew there was a lot of truth in what she said, I resisted her arguments. I suppose I was both appalled and frightened by her fatalism. Brackets, fatalism means the belief that she was doomed not to escape. She believed in fate, and she didn't have any power, basically. "You can go to night school and become a secretary," I said. She shook her head. "I leave that to others. My own place is here." I snapped a twig and threw it into the water. It bobbed on the current and then vanished from sight. That's from Veronica by Adewale Marja Pierce from Loyalties and Other Stories. So before answering these practice questions, make sure you've taken the key points from the text. Think about the characters, the situation, the places mentioned, the timescale within which events take place. For example, here the story covers several years. Study the following questions, the students' answers and the examiner's comments on these. This is a really useful way of preparing to answer questions in the exam. But first of all, write your own answers. So don't look at them yet. I'll read them out. In your own words, explain what happened in Okeke's life when he was 12 and why it was important to him. That's worth 2 marks. Look again at paragraph 3. In your own words, say what impressions you get of Veronica and what has happened to her over the years. That's worth 3 marks. The next question is an example of one that needs a slightly fuller response because 4 marks can be awarded. For such a question, make sure that you explain and support your comments clearly, that there is enough detail to secure a lot of available marks. The short question is, pick out 2 quotations from the passage which give you a feeling that Veronica is trapped in her life and that she cannot do anything to change it. In each case, say why the language is so successful. Do not select extracts from paragraph 3. 4 marks. The last question in this section of the exam paper is one which asks a candidate to think about both of the passages that have been presented in the extract. Remember, these passages can be of very different kinds, but there will be some link between the subject matter that the examiner can ask you to consider. For this sample question, you need to look at the section of this chapter which deals with travel writing and read the passage Mongolian Wedding. A sample question linking the extract from Veronica text 1 and Mongolian text 2 is as follows. Longer question text 1 and 2. Now look at both the passages again. These 2 passages are written for different purpose and in different styles. Briefly explain why you think each was written and then discuss what each passage shows you about the attitude and experiences of the narrator, drawing attention to any important differences you've noticed between them. You should use your own words as far as possible, but you may include brief quotation to support your answer. Remember to comment on both passages. That's worth 6 marks. So you probably need to talk about the subject matter. You probably need to talk about the point of view. Maybe we would talk about, one is about a very difficult situation, and one is about sort of a fun situation. Both reflect on experiences. Try and think about the point of view, the narrative, the language used, the effects, the use of dialogue in one, and dramatic words and comedy in the others. Look at descriptive language, look at any imagery, look at the 10 points basically. Look at any rhythm and rhyme if there's any, or look at any subject matter, message, point of view, imagery, literary devices, everything literary devices in each one, the use of dialogue, the use of rhetorical devices, anything like that you might want to cover on for 6 marks. But yeah, if you look at Mongolian Wedding Text 2 on page 136 in edXL International GCSE English A and B. Okay, brilliant, thank you.